Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Dirshu Mishnah Berurah here. We're holding in Mishnah Berurah Chelik K. We'll be learning today Mirz Hashem, Daf Kuf Lamed Aleph Amid Beis. We're continuing to learn Hilchos Yom Tov. We are in the midst of Siman Taf Kuf Yud Gimel, and we find ourselves today in the middle of Sivav. We're going to be starting on the top line of Kuf Lamed Aleph Amid Beis, a couple of words into the line with the words V'hu Sheyesh Tarnagol. So just to remind ourselves what we were speaking about yesterday. Yesterday we mentioned the concept that a hen typically does not lay eggs during the night. So the case that we discussed yesterday in Sivav was what happens if you check the nesting box right before Yom Tov begins. So that's right before the night you check the nesting box and there was no egg. Now you got up early in the morning and before Amud HaShachar, you check the nesting box and there is an egg. So now you really only have two choices. Either you have to say that the egg was laid at night. Now, if the egg was laid at night, that means that the egg was laid on Yom Tov, and Beitz Hashem Nolda b'Yom Tov Asura. An egg that's laid on Yom Tov is Aser, then the egg would be Aser ba'achila, and the egg would be Muktzah. However, what the Mechaber said was, we do have another choice, and that is, we can say that in reality, the egg was laid during the day on Erev Yom Tov. Why didn't you find an egg in the nesting box? Because what happened is the egg came most of the way out of the hen, so it was considered laid, and then the egg was retracted back into the hen. And now at some point during the night, the egg came back out from the hen. And that's why you found it in the morning in the nesting box. But that's not called a Beitz Hashem Nolda b'Yom Tov. That's called a Beitz Hashem Nolda on Erev Yom Tov, and in that case, the egg is mutter. So that's the case that we discussed yesterday. Now the Mechaber is going to qualify this a little bit. Says the Mechaber, V'hu, this idea that a hen does not lay eggs at night, V'hu sheyesh tarnagol zachar toich shishim batim, this is only when there's a rooster located nearby. What's nearby? Says the Mechaber, within 60 houses. That's a very interesting way of giving a measurement. I would think it depends how far apart the houses are, but that's what the Mechaber says. The Mechaber says if there's a rooster within 60 houses nearby, then ve'enoi mafsik nohar she'ein by gesher, and there's also no river that doesn't have a bridge separating between the hen and the rooster. So there's a rooster within 60 houses, and you don't have a river that doesn't have a bridge separating between the hen and the rooster. If there's a river but there's a bridge, then the hen will go over the bridge. So in that case, that's when you say that it's highly unlikely that a hen will lay an egg during the night. And the idea over here is, if a hen has the ability to be together with a rooster, then that type of hen, since it copulates during the day, it lays eggs during the day. If the hen cannot be with a rooster because there's no rooster within 60 houses, or there's a river separating between the hen and the rooster, and there's no bridge to get across, then the Mechaber says, She'em loikein, efshir sheteled balayla va'aser. If that's not the case, if we're dealing with a hen that cannot get to a rooster, then that type of hen can lay an egg during the night. It's still a miyuta. It's still unlikely. However, if that's the scenario, in that scenario, where we're dealing with a hen that doesn't have the ability to be together with a rooster, so then we have two options. Either we can say that the hen laid the egg on Yom Tov in the middle of the night, or we have to say this scenario that the hen mostly laid the egg on Erev Yom Tov, retracted the egg, and put it out in the middle of the night. So here the Mechaber gave us two different scenarios. In the first scenario of the Mechaber, we were dealing with a hen that can be together with a rooster. When a hen can be together with a rooster, then it's a miyuta de miyuta. It's highly unlikely for the hen to lay an egg in the middle of the night. So then, faced with these two choices, either that the hen laid the egg in the middle of the night, or that the hen mostly laid the egg on Erev Yom Tov and then retracted it, we would go with the latter choice. We would say it's a Beitz Hashem Nolda Erev Yom Tov. It laid the egg mostly on Erev Yom Tov, retracted the egg. But in the second scenario, in today's scenario over here, where we're dealing with a rooster with a hen that cannot be together with the rooster because the rooster is either too far away or there's a river dividing between where the hen is and where the rooster is, then given those two choices, we will choose the option that the hen actually did lay the egg in the middle of the night, and that is a Beit Chanel de B'Yomtiv, and it would be Aser. So again, reading the words inside, V'hu, this that will say that it's a miyuta de miyuta, that the hen laid the egg at night, that's sheyesh tarnagol zakar toishishim batim ve'ina mafsik narishem bagesher. That's when there's a rooster nearby within 60 houses, and there's no river without a bridge separating between the hen and the rooster. Shem loikein. But if there's no rooster nearby, or there is a rooster, but there's a river without a bridge interceding between the hen and the rooster, then then it's more likely that the hen laid the egg at night, va'aser, and then the egg would be aser. Ois katan chav gimel in the Mishnah Berurah, efshe shetele balayla, va'af al pisha ruban afilu mischama meis min akarka einon yoldos balayla. Even though the fact is that even hens that cannot be with roosters, and in the words of the Chavetz Chaim, they go into heat from the karka, from the ground, but they're not with a rooster. Still in all, typically they don't lay eggs at night. Kanos linon basar hamiut. Over here, we would follow the miut. Kanos linon basar hamiut. Since you checked the nesting box right before Yom Tov, right before night, and there was no egg. And now in the morning you got up before Amar HaShachar and you found an egg, we'll go basar the miut and we'll say, all right, it must have laid an egg at night. We're going to choose that option over the option that it laid the egg mostly on Erev Yom Tov and then retracted the egg. Because that's a real oddball case. And in this scenario where we have a hen that wasn't with a rooster, it makes more sense to say that it laid the egg at night and the egg is awesome. Okay. Now continues the Mechaber right by the Ois Katan Chav Daled for the Mishnah Berurah. How about another scenario? Aval im loy badak me'erev Yom Tov. Let's say you did not check the nesting box right before Yom Tov. Okay. But you did get up early in the morning on Yom Tov morning, and you did check the nesting box before Amud HaShachar. So you didn't check the nesting box right before Yom Tov, so there's a possibility that the egg was laid on Erev Yom Tov during the day. Maybe the egg was laid an hour before Yom Tov. You checked the nesting box before Amud HaShachar and Yom Tov morning. So you know it was laid sometime between the afternoon on Erev Yom Tov and Amud HaShachar Yom Tov morning. So avalim loy badak me'erev Yom Tov, afilu leka zachar bahada. Then even if there's no rooster around, at all, we're still going to assume. We don't need a rooster in this case to tell us that we should assume that the egg was laid during the day. Sharia, now the egg is going to be mutter, sha'anu toilim shemeyasmal nolda, because we're going to assume that the egg was laid Erev Yom Tov during the day. Ubaloy zachar ruban yoldois bayom. Because the fact is that even without a rooster, even without exposure to a rooster, most hens lay eggs during the day. So again, this case was, you checked the nesting box last at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Erev Yom Tov. Then you checked the nesting box before Amud HaShachar Yom Tov morning. So what's your choice here? Your choices are either the egg was laid during the day on Erev Yom Tov, or it was laid overnight on Yom Tov. Well, most hens, even if they have no exposure to a rooster, most hens lay their eggs during the day. So the option that we're going to choose is, we're going to say it must be that the egg was laid during the day on Erev Yom Tov and the egg is mutter. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ois Katan Chav Daled. Avalim loy badak, if you did not check the nesting box right before Yom Tov, Pirush, the Hishkim Kayim Amud HaShachar Umatzah, but you did get up early in the morning, Yom Tov morning, and you found an egg. So again, you know the egg was laid sometime between the afternoon of Erev Yom Tov and early in the morning on Yom Tov. But let's say you didn't check the nesting box before Amud HaShachar Yom Tov morning. Let's say you woke up late Yom Tov morning and you checked the nesting box 10 o'clock in the morning. Oh, so now you have three choices. Now you have either the egg was laid Erev Yom Tov in the afternoon, or it was laid overnight on Yom Tov, or it was laid during the day on the morning of Yom Tov. Well, in that case, the egg is going to be aser. Now the egg is aser misafik because you have a suffix. The most likely scenarios are either the egg was laid during the afternoon on Erev Yom Tov, or the egg was laid in the morning on Yom Tov, because typically hens lay eggs during the day. The least likely chance is that the egg was laid overnight on Yom Tov, because hens typically don't lay eggs at night. But you still have a suffix. Maybe the egg was laid 9:30 Yom Tov morning, or maybe the egg was laid 3:30 Erev Yom Tov in the afternoon. That's a suffix ashakol. That's a suffix. So if it's a suffix, the Mishnah Berurah says we're going to go l'chumrah. After who suffix d'Rabbanan, even though this is only a sveika d'Rabbanan, because the whole isser of the Beit Shenol de Yom Tov, if we're talking about Yom Tov during the week, so the whole unless it's on Sunday, the whole suffix is only a suffix d'Rabbanan. Still, but davar sheyesh lo matirin, since this egg, if it's aser, is a davar sheyesh lo matirin, you just have to wait till after Yom Tov, and then the egg is mutter. Machmerina nafilu b'sveika v'chanal. Then we're machmer even by a suffix d'Rabbanan. Ois katan chav hey. The Mechaber said that the reason we could be matir the egg if you didn't check the nesting box right before Yom Tov, so there's a chance that the egg was laid in the afternoon on Erev Yom Tov. The reason why we matir the egg is because ubeloi zachar, because when a hen does not have exposure to a rooster, most hens don't lay eggs at night. Ritzona loymar, what the Mechaber wants to say is afilu beloi zachar. Even without exposure to a rooster, the fact is most hens do not lay eggs at night. I'll call upon him, Ruman Yoldos Bayon, but I have a suffix ashakol. So again, you have a choice. Either the egg was laid during the day on Erev Yom Tov, or it was laid at night on Yom Tov. That's not a suffix ashakol. Most hens don't lay eggs at night. So we're going to assume that the egg was laid during the day on Erev Yom Tov, and the egg is mutter. Continues the Mechaber. By me, it's the third line down near the end of the line. Lefikach, since the fact is that most hens, even hens that do not have exposure to roosters, do not lay eggs at night, lefikach, mutter likach beitzim min ha'ena Yehudi, you are allowed to purchase fresh eggs from a non-Jew, baleil rishon shel Yom Tov, on the first night of Yom Tov. Because again, you're buying an egg from a non-Jew 10 o'clock at night, the first night of Yom Tov. So what are your choices? Your choices are either the egg was laid maybe an hour before he brought it to you, so it was laid at night on Yom Tov, in which case it's a Beit Shenol to Yom Tov is asura, or the egg was laid during the day on Erev Yom Tov. Well, most hens don't lay eggs at night, so it's not a suffix ashakol. We'll assume the egg was laid during the day on Erev Yom Tov. Because we're going to assume that the egg was laid during the day on Erev Yom Tov. Continues the Mechaber, v'chein, and similarly, b'leil sheni shel shnei Yom Tov yomim tovim shel golius. Or let's say the egg was laid on the second night of Yom Tov during the 2 days of Yom Tov here in Golus. So you have Yom Tov was Tuesday and Wednesday. You want to buy an egg, a fresh egg from a non-Jew Tuesday night. So that's the night of the second day of Yom Tov. Okay, what are your choices over here? Either the egg was laid Tuesday night, so that means the egg was laid at night on the second day of Yom Tov. In that case, it would be a Beit Shenol de Yom Tov, and it would be Asura. Or the egg was laid during the day on the first day of Yom Tov. Now that's okay, because if the egg was laid during the day on the first day of Yom Tov, we learned yesterday that even though a Beit Shenol de Yom Tov is Asur, if it was laid on the first day of Yom Tov, it's a mutter on the second day of Yom Tov. Why? Because we say Miman of Shach. We say if the second day of Yom Tov is the real day of Yom Tov, then the egg was laid during the week. If the first day of Yom Tov was the real day of Yom Tov, okay, so then today is Chayil. So then today is not really Yom Tov, and the egg is mutter. Miman of Shach, the egg is mutter. So that's what the Mechaber says. V'chein b'leil sheni shel shtei yom tovim shel golius. You could also buy an egg, a fresh egg from the non-Jew on the second night of Yom Tov, because we're going to assume that the egg was laid during the day on the first day of Yom Tov. and then Beis Shenolda on the first day of Yom Tov is mutter on the second day of Yom Tov. Let's break over here for a second and let's take a look at the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah is cut in Chavav. L'chein b'leil sheni. You could buy an egg from a non-Jew on the night of the second night of Yom Tov. Da'afilu im noimar shenolda b'Yom Tov. Even if you're going to say that the egg, da'afilu im noimar shenolda b'Yom Tov rishon. Even if you're going to say that the egg was laid during the day on the first day of Yom Tov, which is what we will assume, right? Because we have a choice here. Either we have to say that the egg was laid at night on the second night of Yom Tov. Hens don't lay eggs at night. So then when was it laid? Oh, it was laid during the day on the first day of Yom Tov. That's no problem. The halacha we learned yesterday is when an egg is laid on the first day of Yom Tov, it's mutter on the second day of Yom Tov. The chanal b'sifhei, like we saw yesterday in Sifhei. Avol, however, im hevi bayoim, let's say the non-Jew brought the egg during the day. Afilu b'Yom Tov sheni shel galiyos, even if he brought the egg during the day on the second day of Yom Tov, Asura, then the egg would be Asur. Deshema hayoim nolda. If Yom Tov is Tuesday and Wednesday and the non-Jew brings a fresh egg Wednesday afternoon, that egg is Asur because you're going to assume that that egg was laid Wednesday during the day. So that's a Beis Shenolda b'Yom Tov on Yom Tov Sheni. So it's Asur for the duration of Yom Tov Sheni. Now continues the Mechaber by me. It's in the middle of the line, 5 lines down. Avol, however, loi b'leil sheni shel Rosh Hashanah. However, let's say you have Monday and Tuesday are the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. And now the non-Jew brings an egg during the night of the second night of Rosh Hashanah. Then the egg is not going to be mutter. Why? Because you're going to look at this egg and you're going to say, oh, this egg must have been laid on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. Now, even though normally by Shnei Yomim Tovim Shel Galiyos, the halacha is Nolda Bazeh Muteris Bazeh, that if the egg is laid on the first day of Yom Tov, it's mutter on the second day of Yom Tov. We learned yesterday that's not true by Rosh Hashanah, because the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah are Yuma Arichta. It's Kedusha Arichta. It's considered one long day. So if it's Asur on the first day, if it was laid during the day on the first day, and it was Asur on the first day, it's also Asur on the second day. Says the Mishnah Berurah, it's Katan Chav Zayin. No. Let's read a little bit further in the Mechaber before we do Chav Zayin. V'loi b'leil Yom Tov she'achar HaShabbos. And also, you can't do this if it's Yom Tov after Shabbos. Let's hear the Mishnah Berurah now. Ois Katan Chav Zayin. Rosh Hashanah she'achar HaShabbos. Da'afilu im noimar shenolda b'yom rishon shel Rosh Hashanah. Like I explained, if you want to buy the egg, and you're buying the egg the second night of Rosh Hashanah, so you're going to assume that the egg was laid on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. Oy b'Shabbos, or let's say Yom Tov is Shabbos and Sunday. So, and you want to buy the egg Motzei Shabbos. So you're going to assume that the egg was laid on Shabbos. Well, now it's still Asur on Sunday. Harei gam kein asura v'chanal b'Sifhei. We learned this in Sifhei. We learned that if an egg is laid on Shabbos, it's Asur on Sunday, because Shabbos is not allowed to be meichin for Sunday. And if the egg is laid on Shabbos, that means it first became edible on Shabbos. So Shabbos was meichin for Yom Tov. So in both of these cases, the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, or it's Yom Tov, but one of the Yom Tov days is Sunday, the egg is going to be awesome. V'afilu im chal Yom Tov sheni achar Shabbos. Now, let's say Sunday is Yom Tov sheni. It's still going to be awesome. Now the Chavetz Chaim points out that in all of these halachas, we're talking about a case where the non-Jew that you're buying the egg from does not say anything regarding when the egg was laid. Or he claims that the egg was laid earlier. He says, oh, this egg was laid last week. But he's not saying it out of innocence. He's not just making an innocent remark, oh, you should know that this egg is a week old. Kegoin, for example, La'achar sheshala Yisrael, Amosai Nolda, a Yid asked him, tell me, when was the egg laid? Meshiva, he answers him, Shekaydim Rosh Hashanah, Yekaydim Shabbos. He chaps, if the Yid is asking a question, he must want to know that it wasn't laid on Yom Tov. In that case, the guy is not making an innocent remark. The guy is trying to tell you what you want to hear, in which case you cannot rely on anything that the guy says. Okay. Now let's go back to the Shulchan Aruch. Let's see the words of the Ramah. Haggah. Ve'ena Yehudi hamevi beitzim b'yom tov rishon. Let's say a non-Jew brings eggs for sale on the first day of Yom Tov. Umeisiach lefi tumai, and he very innocently remarks, Shenol dumei esmail, that these eggs were laid yesterday. So you have a non-Jewish egg dealer. He shows up in the bungalow colony, like the Knish guy. He shows up and he says, "Yup, I got beautiful fresh eggs here. These eggs were laid yesterday." Okay, so now he just very innocently told you that he has eggs that were laid on Erev Yom Tov. Okay, eggs that were laid on Erev Yom Tov are mutter. So Ramah says, "Mutter lismay chalav." You are permitted to rely on what he says. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ois Katan Chav Ches. You know what? I want to skip Ois Katan Chav Ches, and I want to just read Ois Katan Chav Tes first. So the halacha that the Ramah said was, the egg dealer showed up on the first day of Yom Tov, and he very innocently remarked, you should know these eggs were laid yesterday. All right, if they were laid yesterday on Erev Yom Tov, they're mutter. So the Ramah said you're allowed to rely on the innocent remark of the non-Jew. Says the Mishnah Berurah, you are permitted to rely on the innocent remark of the non-Jew. Why is this? This is true because what are we dealing with here? We're dealing with the Isser of Beitza Shenol B'Yom Tov. That's an Isser D'Rabbanan. So we're dealing with an Isser D'Rabbanan, and says the Chavetz Chaim, the Gam Lo Yischazek Yisura. Over here, we don't know that there's any Isser. This is not a case where we know that something was usher, and we want to rely on the innocent comment of a non-Jew in order to take off the isser. We don't know that there was any isser here in the first place. We don't know that this was a Beit Chanel de Yom Tov. We're relying on the non-Jew to tell us that the egg was laid on Erev Yom Tov, which means it's not a Beit Chanel de Yom Tov. So we're dealing with an isser d'Rabbanan, and it's lo yischazik yisura. In that case, we could rely on the Mesiach Lefi Tumai, on the innocent statement of a non-Jew. I wanted to read Chav Tes first because Chav Tes gives us the basis for the halacha that we just learned. Now we'll go back to Chav Ches. Chav Ches is a little bit tangential, and it just refers to some hypothetical cases. Umesiach Lefi Tumai. Says the Chavetz Chaim, Umayri was speaking about a case here, where we talk about a non-Jew saying something mesiach lefi tumai, when we say that we're relying on an innocent remark of the non-Jew, we're talking about a case where the non-Jew doesn't know anything about this halacha. Because if the non-Jew happens to know the halacha, if this non-Jew has been an egg dealer for 10 years in Jewish communities, and he's had overly talkative Jewish fellows to tell him, oh, you should know there's a halacha that an egg that's laid on Yom Tov is forbidden for us. So now he knows the halacha. So then, even though he seems to be making an innocent remark, you can't trust him. Because this is not out of innocence. He's saying what he's saying because he wants to make his goods more valuable. He wants you to buy his eggs. Because they're his eggs that he's selling, he stands to make the money. Avol, however, says the Chavetz Chaim, let's say the eggs that he's selling really belong to a Yid. They're not his at all. So he doesn't stand to make any money. He's just an employee and he's not commissioned. And the non-Jew innocently remarks that the eggs were laid on Erev Yom Tov, then even if he knows the halacha of the Isser of a Beit Shenol B'Yom Tov, nevertheless, since there's no benefit for the non-Jew at all, from the fact that he's making a statement that he's lying that the eggs were laid earlier, you could rely on him and you could assume that he's not lying. So it's a very interesting rule that the Chavetz Chaim is telling me here. The Chavetz Chaim is telling me this, that you cannot listen to the Mesiach Lefi Tumai of a non-Jew if he's aware of the halacha, is only when he has a vested interest. If the eggs are his and he stands to make money from the eggs, so then since he knows the halacha, we assume he wants to make a sale, so he's going to lie. But if he knows the halacha, but he doesn't stand to make any money on the sale, then there's no reason to assume that he's lying, even though he knows the halacha. Okay. Now we go further in the Ramah. right after the parentheses where it says Siman Taf Reish Mem Aleph. By me, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lines up from the bottom in the middle of the line. V'dafka b'yom tov shechal be'emtza hashavua. This halacha applies only when Yom Tov is falling out in the middle of the week. All of these kulas that we have, this is when we're dealing with a sfeika d'Rabbanan. When Yom Tov is Tuesday and Wednesday, so the whole issur of Beit Shenolda b'Yom Tov is only Gzeira d'Rabbanan to the case when Yom Tov falls out on Sunday. Remember what we said. We said that if Yom Tov falls out on Sunday, so then an egg that's laid on Sunday is a real issur d'oraisa because of achana d'Rabba, because the egg was completed inside the hen on Shabbos, and Shabbos can't be meichin for Yom Tov. So in that case, Beit Shenolda b'Yom Tov asura is a din d'oraisa. When Yom Tov is in the middle of the week, Yom Tov is Tuesday and Wednesday, there's really no reason why a Beit Shenolda b'Yom Tov should be asur. The egg was laid on Tuesday of Yom Tov, so what? So it was nigmar on Monday, so Monday's allowed to be meichin for Tuesday. The only reason it's asur is because it's sfeika d'Rabbanan. So v'dafka, these kulas are b'Yom Tov shechal be'emtza shavua, when Yom Tov falls out during the week. Aval b'Yom Tov shechal be'echad b'Shabbos. But if we're dealing with Yom Tov that falls out on Sunday, she'az yesh lachu shemen nolda b'Shabbos v'asa b'daraisa b'Yom Tov, now you have to worry that the egg was completed, or according to some shittas, you even have to worry if the egg was laid on Shabbos. That Shabbos was meichin for Sunday of Yom Tov, then there's an issur d'oraisa, then ein Yehudim Mesiach Lefitumai Neman. Then you cannot rely on the innocent comment of a non-Jew in order to be matter the egg. So let's say you're dealing with Yom Tov was Sunday and Monday, and now a non-Jew shows up on Motzi Shabbos, and you want to buy eggs from him, and he says, "Oh, you want to buy a fresh egg? This egg was laid on Friday." You can't rely on that because maybe it's not true. Maybe the egg was really laid on Shabbos. Now, according to some shittas, and we mentioned this concept yesterday, and the Ramah now is going according to those shittas. According to those shittas, there are two problems of hachana when it comes to eggs. One problem is an egg that was laid on Sunday was a nigmar. It was completed inside the chicken on Shabbos. So then Shabbos was meichin for Yom Tov. That's an issur d'oraisa. There's also another problem. Let's say the egg was actually laid on Shabbos. It wasn't laid on Sunday. It was laid on Shabbos. So it was completed inside the hen on Friday. So you might think, okay, no hachana problem. What's the problem? Friday was meichin for Shabbos. Shabbos wasn't meichin for Sunday. The egg was nigmar. It was completed inside the hen on Friday. But according to some shittas, there's a second problem. And that is that when an egg is laid, that's when it actually becomes royal achila. While it's in the hen, it's not royal achila. You can make a scrambled egg out of it. Right? So it becomes a royal achila when it's actually laid. So that's also a problem of Shabbos being meichin for Yom Tov, which is also a possible issur d'oraisa. So that's why the Ramah says over here, the dafka b'Yom Tov shechal be'emtza hashavua. All this whole din of relying on the Mesiach Lefitumai of a guy is when we're dealing with a din d'Rabbanan, when we're dealing with Yom Tov in the middle of the week. Aval b'Yom Tov shechal be'echad b'Shabbos. But if you're dealing with Yom Tov on Sunday, Sha'az yesh lachush, then we need to be concerned. Shema nolda b'Shabbos. Maybe the egg was laid on Shabbos, and the fact that it was laid on Shabbos and it became royal achila on Shabbos makes it asur b'daraisa b'Yom Tov. That creates an issur d'oraisa on Sunday because Shabbos was meichin for Sunday by the fact that it was laid on Shabbos. Then ein Yehudim Mesiach Lefitumai Neman. Then you can't say that you're going to rely on the innocent comment of a non-Jew. V'dafka b'Yom Tov Rishon. But that's only true if Sunday is the first day of Yom Tov. Aval b'Yom Tov Sheni. But if we're dealing with the second day of Yom Tov, afilu Rosh Hashanah Neman de'enei ela d'Rabbanan. Let's take a look at the Mishnah Berurah over here, and we'll see what this means. So let's pick up with the Mishnah Berurah's Katan Lamed. Shema nolda b'Shabbos. So again, the Ramah made a statement that if an egg was laid on Shabbos and Yom Tov was Sunday, so then that egg is also been d'oraisa on Yom Tov of Sunday because it was laid on Shabbos, and that means that Shabbos was meichin v'Yom Tov. Vadasa Magen Avram, the opinion of the Magen Avram is that afilu nolda b'Shabbos, even if an egg is laid on Shabbos, still leka issa da'araisa la'achla. That does not make an issa da'araisa. The fact that it was laid on Shabbos. El ikar achshash, the real issa da'araisa is only shema nolda hayoim, is when an egg is laid on Sunday. Vim came nigmar meyesmal b'meyeha, so that it was nigmar inside the hen on Shabbos. That's when you have the issa da'araisa that Shabbos was making for Sunday. The chobesa, the misyaldo idna, because an egg that's laid today, meyesmal gomerla, was completed inside the hen the day before. V'ninsa the Shabbos hekel yom tov asim in ater, and that means Shabbos was making for yom tov, which creates an issa da'araisa. Well, if he's there, according to this opinion, im hevia b'yom rishon kainam amud hashachar. So then, if the non-Jew would bring the egg early Sunday morning before Amud Hashachar, so what are we going to assume? We're not going to assume that the egg was laid Motzei Shabbos. And the guy is going to make an innocent comment that the egg was laid on Erev Shabbos. Shari, it's going to be mutter, because now what are your two choices? Again, the non-Jew brought the egg before Alois on Sunday morning. So your choices are either the egg was laid Motzei Shabbos, no, hens don't lay eggs at night, or the egg was laid during the day on Shabbos. Well, according to the Magen Avram, if the egg was laid during the day on Shabbos, so then Shabbos was mechin for Yom Tov on Sunday, but that's only in Issa D'Rabbanan, because the hachana over here is the laying of the egg. That's only a hachana D'Rabbanan. That's only in Issa D'Rabbanan. So that's your second choice. Your third choice is believe the innocent remark of the non-Jew who says that the egg was laid on Erev Shabbos, in which case it's 100% mutter. So at the worst, you only have an Issa D'Rabbanan. Issa D'Rabbanan, you could rely on the Eina Mesiach Levitumai of the guy. Because even if the egg was laid on Shabbos during the day, Ein Yisura Elo D'Rabbanan, or D'Rabbanan Mesiach Levitumai Neman. Ois Katan Lamed Aleph, Einaka Mesiach Levitumai Neman. When there's an Issa D'Araisa, you can't trust the innocent remark of the non-Jew. Over Medina Seinu. Now, says the Chavetz Chaim, in our locales, Shechiche Harbe Beitzim, where Baruch Hashem, we have a plethora of eggs. During the peak of COVID-19, eggs got a little sketchy, but for the most part, we have plenty of eggs. Umeviyam Harbe Bebasachas, and the egg dealers bring dozens and dozens and dozens of eggs at one time. Certainly we assume that most of the eggs are already several days old. And therefore we can certainly trust the non-Jew when he makes an innocent remark. And he says that they were laid before Shabbos. Says the Chavetz Chaim, all of these halachas only pertain to when the egg dealer, the non-Jew, is coming to you. If the Yid goes to buy the eggs from the non-Jew, over there it gets a little bit more complicated, and I'm not going to go into this. I'll just give you a hint as to what the issue is. The issue is that when the egg dealer is bringing the eggs to you, you could rely on a roiv, because you could say, Kal de parish meruba parish. Whenever something is separated from a mixture, we assume that what you got when you pulled something out of the mixture, you must have pulled from the roiv. The odds are, if you stuck your hand into the mixture and pulled something out, you pulled out from the majority. That's called the parish meruba parish. But we know in Yeridea, there's a concept that kol kavua kemetzal mechzadami. When there's a suffix which is in the place where all the things are, over there we say kol kavua kemetzal mechzadami. There's a 50-50 shot of what you pulled out. So when you go to the non-Jew, that could be kol kavua kemetzal mechzadami, and it could be that you cannot rely on the roiv. Says the Mishnah Berurah weiter in Ois Katan Lamed Beis. The Ramah said, "Aval b'yom tov sheni, afilu Rosh Hashanah, Ritzon Eloimar." The case that the Ramah is referring to here is Shachal Rosh Hashanah b'yom HaShabbos. Let's say Rosh Hashanah fell out on Shabbos and Sunday, like it did this year. Ritzon Eloimar, Shachal Rosh Hashanah b'yom HaShabbos b'yom Rishon. The Hevi Akum b'yom Rishon. And now a non-Jew brought eggs during the day on Sunday. Neman b'mesiach lefi tumai. You could trust him in his mesiach lefi tumai. The gamahu einay elam derabanan. Because again, now you're dealing with a din derabanan. Da'anan bekian bekviyah diyarcha v'ha'ikar hu yom rishon. If Rosh Hashanah or Yom Tov is Shabbos on Shabbos and Sunday, so now may ikar adin. Even on 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, where we usually say it's a Yom Arichta, a Kedusha Arichta, still we could say that the first day Yom Tov is the Iker, and the second day of Yom Tov is really Chayil. And since we're dealing here with an Issa D'Rabbanan of Beis Hashanel de Yom Tov, over D'Rabbanan Neman Akum b'Mesiach Lefi Tumai. Okay. Now we're going to go weiter Siv Zayin. Ha'shoichet Tanagoylis, if somebody shechts a hen, and he finds a fully completed egg inside the hen. Mutaros. So you shechted a hen on Yom Tov, and you found inside a fully completed egg. Now you might say this is a Beit Shenol de Yom Tov, right? I didn't have this egg before Yom Tov, and I have the egg now. Maybe that's a Beit Shenol de Yom Tov, and maybe it's also. Says the Mechaber, no. You find a complete egg. Mutaros is mutter. Even if this happened on Sunday. So normally Beit Shenolda on Yom Rishon is an Issa Daraisa. Over here, since you found it inside the hen, it's mutter. Explains the Chavetz Chaim. Let's cut Lamed Gimel. Beitzim Gemuros. You found a fully completed egg inside the hen. Hainu afilu b'kli pasam. Even if it's totally complete, it has its hard shell and everything. Mutarais, the egg is mutter. Why? Dechal's man shaloi nolda. As long as the egg has not yet been laid, chashvin on zeh kigufa. This is not considered an egg. It's a piece of chicken. So it's not a Beit Shenol to be Yom Tov. Lamed Hey, Shalachar Shabbos. This is even true if you're dealing with Yom Tov on Sunday. You don't say that, wait a second, if I wouldn't have shechted the chicken, then maybe this egg would have been laid on Sunday, on Yom Tov of Sunday. And then it would be that Shabbos was making for Yom Tov. There would be an Issa Daraisa. You don't say that. Da'afim nigmara b'Shabbos. Because in this case, even if it's true that the egg reached its completion inside the hen on Shabbos, eina chashiva hachana. We don't say that, hey, wait a second. Today is Sunday. It's Yom Tov. I shechted the chicken, and I found a fully complete egg inside the hen. Well, if it's a fully complete egg, that means that this egg was completed yesterday on Shabbos. So I want to eat an egg now that was muchan on Shabbos. Why isn't that in Issa Daraisa? Explains the Chavetz Chaim, no. That's not called that Shabbos was making for Yom Tov. Elim kenolda al yedei gemar zeh. We only say that when the egg is laid. Aval kol zman sheloi nolda, as long as the egg is not laid, ein gemar zeh nikra hachana. The fact that the egg was completed inside the hen on Shabbos is not called a hachana. It's not called that the egg was reached its completion and was prepared on Shabbos for Yom Tov. Why? Because it reaches its peak taste when it's laid. So if it was laid on Sunday, you could say Shabbos is when the egg reached its completion, and it was mechin the egg that was laid on Yom Tov. So then Shabbos was mechin for Yom Tov. But if it wasn't laid, it never reached its real completion. So then you don't have this problem. Says the Mechaber Sivches, and we'll finish the Siman. A chick that hatched on Yom Tov, aser, is forbidden. V'im noilad b'Shabbos, and if it was hatched on Yom Tov, if it was hatched on Shabbos, when Yom Tov is Sunday, aser b'Yom Tov shala achrav, it's also aser on Sunday. Says the Chavetz Chaim, aser, a chick that was hatched on Yom Tov is aser ba'achila. It's also ba'achila ubetiltal. It's also muktzah ad erev until the night. Mepnei shu muktzah. Va'af haratirin muktzah b'Yom Tov. And even according to those shitas that were makel in muktzah Yom Tov, like we saw in Siman Taf Tzadikei, you have those shitas that are makel when it comes to muktzah on Yom Tov. Moedim a muktzah kazeh. they agreed to this type of muktzah that this is aser. Sha'ad sheyatza ha'efrayach la'avra olam lo'hayaroi l'klum. Until the chick actually hatched, it wasn't roy for anything. It was like eitzim va'avonim. Da'af ha'klavim lo'hayaroi l'naisai. Even a dog will not eat a unhatched chick inside its shell. So we're dealing here with a type of muktzah. We said that even the shittas that are mekel and muktzah Yom Tov, they're maskim by noilad. Over here you have something that was completely unusable before Yom Tov, and now on Yom Tov it became usable. That's mamash noilad. So over here they would be maskim that this is muktzah. And if it was laid on Shabbos and Yom Tov is Sunday, also Yom Tov Shal Achrav, it's also on Yom Tov as well. Yesharim Duhum in HaTorah, there are those that say that this is a daraisa. Lefisha al yedei leidazu huchan la'achila, because this is again a hachana from Shabbos to Yom Tov. By the fact that the chick was hatched on Shabbos, it made it royal la'achila on Yom Tov. So that means Shabbos was making for Yom Tov, and it's also b'daraisa. The kevich b'Shabbos yefshel l'shachti l'achlei nimtzeh shuchan b'Shabbos l'achlei b'Yom Tov shel achrav. L'kfar nisbar de'in Shabbos mechina l'Yom Tov. The Yesharim and those that say that this is only Nisa D'Rabbanan, Lefisha b'Shabbos Gufa Hu Muktzah, since it was Muktzah on Shabbos. Then Yochel Lechel or Lataltalam Ba'isa Yom Klal, so you weren't able even to be metaltal this chick on Shabbos. Then Natira b'Yom Tov Nimtza Shabbos Heikel Yom Tov. So how did it become mutter on Yom Tov? Only because it became Muchad on Shabbos. So that is an Isser D'Rabbanan. Okay, we'll stop here. And Mir Hashem, next time we'll pick up with Siman Tavkuf Yadalud. The schos of Liban HaTorah should stand Gans Klal Yisrael in good stead. Rabbi Shor should be Megan on Gans Klal Yisrael. Everyone should have Gemara, Chesiva Teva, a good gebenched yard. Be well.